Hello, everyone. I'm Raven from Raven Comics, and today we will explore the true Blackest Night. That night when light could never illuminate the universe. The prophecy of the Blackest Night is here, but this time, light will not be able to overcome the darkness. The universe is night. Much of it is cold and dark, marked by occasional bright lanterns. It all begins with the gloomiest prophecy of the entire Green Lantern Corps. When the death god Necron unleashed the power of the Black Lantern and created a new corps, the Black Lanterns attacked other lantern bearers and spread death across the galaxy until they faced a united force of lanterns. These lanterns gathered the 7 emotional spectrums and were led by Hal Jordan, the greatest Green Lantern of all time. Even Jordan's archenemy, former Green Lantern Thale Sinestro, fought by his side with his yellow ring of fear. As the battle grew, Sinestro invoked the power of life itself and became the first White Lantern, possessed by divine power. But in the universe's moment of need, Sinestro chose to share the power, and with that choice, a new White Lantern Corps was born, and the Black Lanterns were defeated by Sinestros Decision. Hal Jordan saved the day once again. Of course, that happened in the main universe. But we're talking about the dark multiverse. In another world, Sinestro faced sharing the divine power with the man he believed had stolen his destiny, and he refused. But Sinestro's control over the Ring of Life was weak, and the Color Corps couldn't stop Necron from destroying the White Entity. At that moment, death had overcome life. The undead Black Lanterns, now empowered, wiped out all the heroes, killing them and resurrecting them as Black Lanterns, a growing army expanding exponentially by the second. And so it went in the war between light and darkness, life and death. This time, life lost, and Thale Sinestro, knowing he was responsible, decided he couldn't live with himself. This universe was his failure, and this is his story. 19 days after the Blackest Night, we find ourselves in Titan's Tower, where Lobo is battling several Black Lanterns. One who suffers his wrath is none other than Cyborg, whom he grabs and splits in half. Starfire arrives behind Lobo and bites him. Lobo warns Starfire that if she bites him, she'll have the worst stomachache possible. And indeed, something begins to happen to Starfire. A ring tries to take him. Lobo must die, but that won't happen. Lobo can replicate his cells whenever he wants. It works pretty well for these kinds of infections, and this little bug is nothing compared to the hyperherpes he contracted a while back. White Lantern Sinestro arrives at the scene and tries to revive a few. His white ring reminds him how painful life can be, but there's no cure. It is feared that the effect will only be temporary before his black ring returns them to oblivion. As we can see, one half of Sinestro is alive, but the other is dead. He is a Black and White Lantern at the same time. Things have changed quite a bit since the Green Lanterns failed to defeat Necron. He was attacked in the battle, nearly died, but was chosen. Basically, what happens is that the white ring keeps the infection at bay, and meanwhile, Lobo asks Sinestro what he's doing here. Well, it's simple. She's Dove, the avatar of peace. His white ring detected her. She's literally the last woman alive on Earth, as she seems to be completely immune to the influence of the black ring. He'd like to run some experiments on her. Her powers might be the key to ending this plague. Lobo grabs Sinestro by the throat, wanting to kill him on the spot. But it won't happen because what's done is done. She will go with Lobo and his mustache. After all, he's here because he was hired to take her to Trackon Galos. And what does Dove think about this situation? These two thugs can't talk as if she isn't here and has no will. The Lords of Order and Chaos chose her to wield these powers, and she has survived on her own for weeks in this hell. No one will tell her where to go. After a brief discussion, they agree that leaving this planet is the best course of action. And so, Dove will work with Lobo and Sinestro. They will definitely need her White Lantern powers. Once we're out in the universe, we learn that the Thanagarians sent their entire war fleet to Earth, hoping to end the Black Lantern plague. Now their remains litter this solar system as we see it, and as they advance, Sinestro warns to be careful as they delve deeper into the universe. His light will shine less. A horde of 19 trillion Black Lanterns, strong and growing by the hour, awaits them. Dove is horrified, but Sinestro urges her to contain herself. Fear is a powerful force. It wouldn't be good for everyone to reduce their emotions, including Lobo's anger. The Black Lanterns, like all lantern bearers, possess the power of the emotional spectrum. The souls of those resurrected by the black light of the rings follow an emotional tether back to their bodies, waiting. That connection, manipulated by Necron, is what motivates them to accept their horrific transformations. Even after the widespread dissemination of the rings, they still seek those tethers, no matter how corrupted and distorted they may be. Loyalty to a brother, hatred for an enemy, love for a father, rage at a betrayal. And once there's no emotion left to consume, they'll return to the fundamental connections. The tonic threads, the threads between molecules, will devour and spread until there's nothing left but the black spaces between the stars. 6 days later, we are on Trackon Galos. This is a personal delivery Lobo was hired to make. Sinestros senses a presence of life here, but that single heartbeat is overwhelmed by the excessive presence of death. Lobo detects a body temperature that's too low, meaning a cold army or Black Lanterns are here. Shortly after advancing, something begins to happen to Sinestro. Something's wrong. The power of death in this place is far stronger than anything he has faced before, as if it had consumed an even greater life, feeding on eternity itself. In other words, gods are here, or rather, the new gods. Big Barda, Granny Goodness, and other gods were already here waiting for Lobo and his company. And they've arrived just in time for the Furies to feast. Lobo asks Sinestro to do the one thing he knows how to do so they can get out of this place safely. Sinestro tries. It's difficult because the corruption of some things is too sacred. Not even he can restore a fallen god. Well, if there's no other way, Lobo will have to fight and take Big Barda as a trophy. But before he can start fighting, someone arrives and stops them. This is Scott-Free, who shows them a way out. Big Barda tries to convince Scott-Free to come back with her. Obviously, he doesn't listen, and they all manage to escape. In hiding, we learn that Scott-Free was the one who hired Lobo to bring him the last hope. Once Dove and the new god embrace, Sinestro realizes that this is indeed a trap. But it's not a trap for them. It's for the new gods. His wife and the female Furies came for him. So he activated a boom tube to bring them here and compromise the planet's security system. He has been going from cell to cell for days, waiting for them to come. It's not too bad, really, except for the constant screams, threats, and cries. Barda never cried. Sinestro knows Scott-Free has one of the brightest minds in the universe. He hopes he has a good reason for bringing Dove to this place. Scott says he does, of course. There is a barrier created from the corpses of the giants that dominated the primal space. And that place is the Source Wall. According to legend, beyond that wall lies the source of everything. Literally, the cosmic energy of creation. The light in the darkness of nothingness, unleashed. The source is the antithesis of Necron, pure life. But the source is chaotic, scattered, and random like water, meaning it takes the shape of its container. Hence the need for Dove, chosen as an avatar of peace by the Lord of Order. Scott-Free's plan is to use his mother box to open the Source Wall. He can filter the source through Dove, guiding it to resurrect the Black Lanterns. Scott regrets going after Dove in that way, sending Lobo. He won't force her to do anything she doesn't want to do. But she is the key to all of this. They just need one more thing, and that's Sinestro's white ring. As for Lobo, he's done his job and has been paid. He's free to leave unless he has another reason to stay. Scott-Free needs to step aside for a bit, finishing some calculations on the mother box. Once Dove and Sinestro are alone, the Last Hope tells him one of the things that happened to her with the Black Lanterns. After the Black Lantern infection spread, her former partner, Hank Hall, came for her, following that emotional tether from beyond the grave. She knew that with her powers, he couldn't hurt her, but he was always provoking and insisting, always knowing what to say to get under her skin. He told him she was alone, and there was nothing more she could do. Once, it lasted days, and sooner or later, it came for her. This person was here, someone she knew and loved more than anyone else, saying there was no hope. So, she fled from that place and flew across the country to Titan's Tower. She thought she could start over there, a clean slate, but chaos was chasing her. Then Sinestro appeared with the ring, and Lobo too. Life and death in harmony, balance, a perfect order. She thought it must be a sign. It couldn't be a coincidence. This must be why she was chosen. Shortly after, Scott Free finished the preparations, and we find ourselves at the edge of the universe, the source wall. Before they begin their work, Sinestro realizes something. Lobo is worried about what might happen to Dove. The man denies it, as if he even knew what that was like. And even if he did, the man always keeps his emotions in check. Everything indicates otherwise because a boom tube has just opened, and the Black Lanterns have arrived at this place. Hal Jordan felt it across space. That's what happens when you allow yourself to feel hope. You immediately feel the opposite, fear. Fear that everyone knows he's the one who failed this universe, that he is responsible for all of this. And the one responsible wasn't Lobo, but Sinestro. Feeling all these emotions, not only the most powerful lanterns from each corps are here. Among them are also the Furies of Apocalypse and the new avatar of the great Lord Necron, Darkseid. Darkseid got what he always wanted. He became the anti-life incarnate, and they need to prepare. Sinestro alerts Lobo to the situation. A Darkseid possessed by Necron. Their combined power is immeasurable. The man tells him to shut up and let him do his job. Darkseid is waiting. Lobo must come before him. He has always been a loyal servant, whether he knew it or not. He has sent many to his expectant arms, and now he has received the gift of annihilation. Meanwhile, Carol Ferris confronts Sinestro. He took the white light that was meant for all of them, and now they will take what remains of his heart. The former colored lanterns were about to attack Sinestro, but he easily handles them. None of the lanterns were worthy of the White Lantern. Selfish, lustful, wrathful, arrogant, and ignorant. They got what they always deserved, death. But what about this one here? What about Hal Jordan? Sinestro tells him to stay away from him. All Hal Jordan ever wanted to do was live, to save others so they could do the same. Meanwhile, Saranic lived to atone for her evil. Sinestro can't believe his daughter is here and begs her to stop. Scott's plan is already in motion, and they only need one more thing: the energy of the white light. But Sinestro can't. He can't face them. So, he will use the power of the White Lantern and orders them to live. The problem is that, as we've seen before, Sinestro's infection power cancels out the connection. Sinestro asks Jordan to listen to him. His time is limited. He always envied his will. He just needed him to know. Now he can see that he was wrong. He can't build a better core. He failed because he is selfish. Because instead of courage, he is fear. Because he feared, he always knew. And as for the failure, he condemned the entire universe. Sinestro asks for forgiveness, but something strange is happening here. Hal Jordan and Saranic have returned to life. Hal Jordan tells Sinestro that he was the best of all of them. Again, something starts happening to the two of them. Death is taking hold of them. Hal Jordan of Earth, Saranic Natu of Korugar. Before the Black Ring can take them, Lobo arrives and rips off their heads. While Lobo is dealing with Darkseid, Scott tells Sinestro that it's time. While everyone is distracted, he must head toward death. It seems that the plan is working. Dove is channeling the energy of the White Lantern. She can feel the source of all creation. Everything was going well when suddenly, Darkseid interrupts them. If they do this, he promises they will never see his beloved wife again. Scott asks why he should listen to him. Darkseid says he has spent his life seeking to eliminate free will. Necron found the solution. His word is the anti-life equation. But the power of the Avatar of Order will not reverse it. Instead, it will destroy it. It will eliminate chaos as a nature, starting over. And if they don't believe him, then Sinestro can use his powers to see that he's telling the truth. Sinestro does so. It's all true. He feels it in the White Ring. Dove's powers will direct the source to eliminate the universe of the Black Lantern Plague and restore harmony in the form of a new beginning. In other words, Scott Free will survive. Sure, he's immortal, but he'll be in a place where Big Barda will never exist again. Dove takes Scott Free. He has to let all this happen. They were chosen for this situation and must move forward. It seems Scott is no longer willing to do it. Just then, Lobo arrives and stops him. But Scott doesn't want to continue, not without Big Barda. Lobo tells him he's a selfish bastard. Can't he see his entire world? The universe knew it. Every time someone hired him, it gave him the reason. But Dove saw it in her light. She was pure and good, peaceful. After the Black Lanterns took his dolphins, she was the only beautiful thing left in the entire universe. Now, because of him, all that will be left is this damned ugliness. Lobo isn't willing to accept that, so he'll finish off scot-free. Darkness grows while all light dies. Granny Goodness has to reunite with the rest of the Colored Corps. They have to get rid of Scott-Free's inventions. Martha has to deal with Lobo and his blood clones. As for Sinestro, what greater agony could it have been to spend his last flickering moments as a fully alive being, intimately aware that Jordan was always right about him. He can give him what he truly seeks, what the persistent light of the white ring took from him. Even as its energy worked its way into his brain, he can give him oblivion. Sinestro looks at him and says no. Jordan is gone. Now only Thale Sinestro remains. He survived while the rest died. He will expel all the white light he can because Hal Jordan was right. He was and is the best lantern of them all. He is willpower incarnate. He is life, and he refuses to fail again. The source of life is like water. It takes the form of its container. But Dove wasn't the only source left. And that's because here is Lobo. His cells regenerate at his will. He creates life from blood. Instead of Dove, he will channel the source of the energy. The man who murdered his entire planet and countless others. He is the best chance to defeat death. Sinestro's failures were simply destined to bring him to this place. This is his fate. Creation will be remade in his own image. Necron must feel it. The primal pulse of creation. The eradication of death. And so, this is how the Darkest Night ends. The wave of creation spilled from the source wall like a flood from a broken dam, millions of times the speed of light, cleansing every Black Lantern ring bearer, stripping their corpses of the dark energies that sustained them, leaving behind cold bones and ashes until it reached the 0 point of the infection. Planet Earth, as promised. The annihilation of the plague was just the beginning of the wave's effects. From death, new life arose. The wave of creation accelerated the evolution of every world in its path, raising select single-celled organisms from the primordial sludge, filling their veins with blood. Within months, living beings rose on 2 legs, formed tribes, created languages, and gazed at the stars. In each of them, the image of a single progenitor was etched into their genetic memories. And that was a new god, Lobo. The energy of the source is like water. It takes the form of its container. And so, every new species born to replicate those lost to Necron took on different aspects of Lobo. The first impulses of these new beings were to destroy and exploit the remnants of the ancient civilizations. Hatred and violent tendencies were as much a part of them as their DNA. Within months, they had reached the stars, driven by their instincts to eliminate all competition or seek revenge for the slightest perceived slight. And watching it all from afar was the new architect of this new universe, Thale Sinestro, the Limbo Lantern. Sinestro searches for any method to escape his error. He seeks breaches in the fabric of space-time to burn his way into a new reality. But this universe is sealed so that no one can leave. This is the true Blackest Night, one where broken worlds fall into the bowels of the dark multiverse, where no bright lantern will ever shine again. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm TJ Prime, and see you in the next video.